All right, welcome back to Flow Frame here. Tyler again with James, where we cover all things prediction markets. So, another busy week behind us and ahead, I guess. There's always things happening with the war in Iran and domestically. So, a lot of stuff to cover here. Let's first, before we dive into some Iran updates and some other things going on, let's just quick recap some of our trades from last video. So, I'm going to share my screen. My trade from last video was on the Kharg Island, no longer under Iranian control. So, quick update on that one. It's actually been kind of volatile with everything going on, all of the news headlines, the peace deals, the ceasefire violations. It's really hard to figure out what's all going on. But so my entry on this was no at 92 cents. So it's now at 93 cents. So slightly in profit. It was as high as like 97 at one point, but now there was some ceasefire violations. There was like the US taking over a Iranian tanker or something like that over the weekend. So it's creeping back up that it might escalate. It doesn't necessarily align with what the peace deal is showing, where that's, let's see if we go to the, like, the, I guess the peace deal is maybe creeping back up here a little bit. So some conflicting signals there. Any thoughts on that, James?
Uh, yeah, I mean, we're with the ceasefire in place. I mean, and the failed talks, especially from a week ago, last weekend. Yeah, it remains unlikely. It means such a escalation step to actually land troops on Kharg Island and to take it over in any meaningful way. That I mean, we've kind of watched that be pretty consistently, I would say overpriced. I mean, it's probably headed at 7% through the end of the month is maybe closer to fair value, but
Yeah.
it takes some real like extreme catalyst events to make that a reality. I don't think
Yeah.
it's resolving, yes, at least
Yeah,
for
it's hard not
certain.
to get a little nervous over the weekend when I saw that. Again, it's so hard to know what headlines to, like, believe and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
one time, one headline pops up and the talks are failing and Iran doesn't wanna talk. That was the big headline from yesterday where markets, like,
Yeah,
reacted, like, right away. But now, today, they are gonna have talks and JD Vance is heading to Pakistan again, but then he's not.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to, I guess, really have a ton of conviction on, like, what's going on, so I'm not, like, I would say I'm not the most comfortable in this position right now. I might need to, I don't know, maybe trim a little bit just to just to be comfortable just with the uncertainty around it.
Well, it's strange pricing in diplomacy in on exchanges on X, especially at this point, because it's
Yeah.
like that's never how it's been done, and it's definitely not how it is currently taking place. Like it's behind the scenes, it's through intermediaries. Like it was Oman right before the start of the conflict.
Yeah.
I know China's becoming a huge player, like behind the scenes, because they're so economically dependent on oil exports from Iran, and this is really could pose a serious economic threat to China. So they're working hard behind the scenes. So like
Yeah.
that posturing that we're seeing on like social media and Trump's Truth Social, like I think it does create some noise around
Yeah.
those trades, and it's like it's important to kind of figure out like the actual underlying mechanisms of it and not necessarily that like the punchy like X post that gets pushed through to
Yeah.
see like what so and so said. Yeah, but it's interesting because it's a dynamic that I don't think a lot of analysis is prepared for necessarily, or we see the markets move. You can almost see them like kind of bump up and down based on like a social media post, and it's really not where that work is almost certainly getting done.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm probably not adding to this position, maybe cutting it slightly. I'm gonna hold for sure. Like, I mean, when there's only 10 days left, and some unless something drastically changes, I'm gonna have some position on this through the month. But yeah, probably it wouldn't be my favorite one to add to right now. So let's
Mhm.
jump over to yours from last week. I think it's resolved because it was ending April 15. It was the government. Let's find it here. Government
The
shutdown.
shutdown.
When will the government shutdown end? I think is the one I'm looking for.
Yeah, what was that exact?
Or maybe it was I think it was this one, I guess, and it just had like the date. So it's
Yes,
passed. It
yeah.
was yeah, it was April 15 and
Mm,
the
yeah, it was at
the
65 days, the market.
yep. So you had no on April 15
Yeah,
and
the
you're in
the timeline just didn't make
yep.
any sense for it, and yeah, it resolved. No.
So nice one there. It nailed it. It was entry was 94
Mhm.
cents. So nice 6% return in maybe a week there or something. So any like would you do another position on any of these now or how is it looking
I
lately?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 70 is probably too expensive. Not that it's not likely, but it's just I don't think there's any real,
Yeah.
return to be had there. I mean, as we watch the next 2 or 3 days unfold and we see what Congress is getting up to and what kind of pushback they're getting from the White House, might look at 75 or 80, but the I know they're in some sort of emergency session, something today,
Oh,
back, so yeah, it's unclear of how that's gonna develop. I might take a look at it over the next 2 or 3 days and try to sort out a position there.
yeah. Nice. All right. Good stuff. So those were our trades from last video. We'll have some new ones coming up later in the video, but we're gonna jump to some more Iran updates here. So let's do the Hormuz traffic. This one's
Mhm.
been this one's been volatile. Again, over the weekend, you know,
Yeah.
peace deal, no peace, or no peace deal talks, no talks. You can see it. You can kind of see it in the charts here. Good news, bad news, good news. Just back and forth. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, you can see that 24-hour or about stretch where they announced that the strait was open for business, and then citing the US blockade, they immediately announced it was gonna be shut down. And yeah, I mean, the contract, the detail is 60 plus, I think, on average for
Yep.
a week long span. And yeah, they're down to about 10, I think, over the last 2 or 3 days on average. And so, I mean, is that May 15th, or is there a May 1st on that market, or just the 15th? Let's see.
Yep. May 1st.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that one's we're getting very close to the point where you would need an explosion of traffic through the strait for it to average out to for to meet the yes criteria. So I imagine we're gonna watch that one kind of drop off unless something extreme happens with the U.S. blockade. Because Iran is citing that as a explicitly as a reason for truncating the traffic to the strait there.
Yeah. This. So the key there is the at first when I just like first glanced at the resolution maybe a couple of weeks ago or something, it says the 60 number, but the key is it has
Mhm.
to be a 7-day average of 60, not just one day of 60
Yeah. So
through,
if we
right?
start getting to the 24th, 25th, and we're nowhere near at 60, you're gonna have to start getting 100 plus days, which
Yeah.
like, yeah, like just looking at the traffic capacity of a logistical operation in the strait that is kind of come to a standstill. I mean, every day gets exponentially more difficult to meet that.
And I think the latest thing I read, again, it will probably change in an hour, but I think there's gonna have some talks. Well, so the ceasefire ends technically tomorrow, is that right?
Wednesday, yeah,
Wednesday?
Wednesday the
So there'll be
28th.
yeah, there'll be some sort of talks
Mhm,
or something over the next, a couple days. So subtract the next 2, 3, 4 days of talks back and forth and stuff, and now you're almost already to the last week of April. So,
yeah,
uh, and then so in my we have a daily newsletter that I send out, and as I was writing that, a little snippet kind of stood out to me that I found. I'll pull it up here. You can sign up for this newsletter on the website flowframe.xyz. So this large German shipping company, let's see, where does it talk about? Where did I write that? Maybe down here. It's called this Hapag Lloyd. They
mhm,
said in a statement to Reuters or someone here that they need 68 weeks yet to resume normal Hormuz transit, even if the strait opens like now.
mhm.
So that's telling you
Yeah,
that a lot of these companies still need to ramp back up all of this logistical stuff even to just go back to normal. So
mhm. And then the land-based operations too will have to kick in enough to facilitate, like, the amount of barrels that would necessitate that amount of traffic.
yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
that
true too.
interesting to find out how those operations, how quickly they go back to at least that amount of normal.
Right. 22 seems way too high as we talk through this to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, but okay. Then the other big one that we've been covering is the US Iran nuclear deal. How are we looking on this one?
I mean, I think, I mean, we obviously we have that jump from the ceasefire and the Strait news last week before it shut down. What's jumping out to me is everyone people trading on this seem to be kind of optimistic, kind of in the
Mhm.
face. It just like it almost feels like geopolitical inertia of like the status quo will return
Mhm.
because you can see even with the little jumps, it's trending up relatively, but it's as everything, at least facially, is kind of falling apart at the moment. I mean, you have Iran coming out and saying that they're not attending as of now. They're not attending this weekend's talks. Um, we're about 15 years, no, 10 or 15 years apart on what on the uranium enrichment time span. Iran wants no enrichment for 5 years. The U.S. wants 15, and they just don't seem to be getting closer on a number. So I think that would definitely push these values down a little bit more than what's being reflected in this just general trend of optimism. Like I think maybe all these prices are a little high.
Yeah, I just a quick glance here. I didn't notice this before, but this term structure is kind of out of whack a little bit
Mm.
because you got 27% chance before May, 46 before June, 60, and then August. The July and August contract is pretty much priced the same. I mean, so obviously you got to look at the order book here, and we're really maybe 61 to 62% chance for August, and yeah, 62, 63 for July. So that's
Yeah. And then September is honestly not that much higher.
yeah.
And I think maybe what everyone's just kind of lumping together there in that summer is that the political capital starts to really fizzle out completely
Mm,
for the White House for the midterms coming up because I mean,
yeah.
so unpopular, and if prices and inflation, if everything keeps going up, it hurts Trump and the Republicans, especially domestically, and I think that's kind of what's getting priced in there as that all kind of moves closer together and kind of looks more homogenous.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed a couple of weeks ago, I haven't looked at it recently, but if you look at the similar contract on Polymarket, let's see. So it's pricing a 35% chance by April 30, June 68, end of the year 74. If you compare that to, let's just compare the June contract to, 'cause that was June 30, so this would be the July. So there's an 8 percentage point difference there, but I think it's because Polymarket's resolution rules are a lot more like lenient. So an official agreement over Iranian publicly announced mutual agreement is reached. If such an agreement is officially reached, agreements that include the as parties compared to, oh, I was just reading the Polymarket one, sorry. So kind of a mutually agreed statement, and then Kalshi's looks like it's stricter. It needs maybe some sort of signed or accepted, signed or accepted. Yeah, so that's
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's tough to like. I mean, that's a pretty big gap. So there must be
Mm.
some difference in the resolution, but it's hard just from the rules to really tell what's
Yeah.
kind of a
What
weakness with prediction markets. I think that wish that would get
mhm.
better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess is it just enough of a difference in pool of traders combined with just slight wording? I
Yeah.
think right there the difference that's getting priced in is just the posturing risk of if you get mm, Hamini or Trump are both at least globally facing extremely like image focused on the conflict. They want to be viewed in such a way. So maybe that discount on Polymarket is the that posturing, the willingness to say it before it's official.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think a good trade could definitely be no. I mean,
Mhm.
this is 39% chance. Because would a nuclear deal, do you think, would that involve them completely like giving up enrichment, or is this, or could
Yeah.
it could it be something less than that,
No, it'll almost certainly be more than that. It'll
more than
be
that?
a time frame for limiting it. Like Iran proposed 5 years in the first round of talks 2 weeks ago, and the U.S. is countering with 15 years of a moratorium on enrichment and to offload their enrichment, and like Russia's offering to take it, and like the enriched uranium from Iran. And there's a lot of moving parts in it, but there's such a wide gap. And I know the U.S. is, I don't know if it was an official like exchange of the terms list, but I know they're going to go after more ballistic missiles and armaments from Iran as part of the nuclear deal. Like
Okay.
that's going to get folded in, and like I just don't see the Iranian regime really moving towards that without something else happening. because there would essentially be pretty defenseless in an increasingly hostile to them like Gulf, where they have been kind of firing on who were up until a very short time ago close friends,
Yeah.
and there's existential push and pull with Israel just because the US and Iran signed a deal doesn't save them necessarily from a rogue attack from Israel, either in Lebanon or Iran. So I think they'd be really hesitant to give up that kind of protection. So it's yeah, that middle, that no man's land there in the middle is just too big currently for any realistic, I think, resolution. Yes.
Yeah. Though an interesting one that I've seen for the Iran, the permanent peace deal one by April 22. I don't know if you've looked at this one at all, but so that's 2 days away at 18%. So this is for this to resolve, yes, they'll have to have the
Yeah.
official another official meeting in Pakistan with probably Vance and Kushner and everything. And, last time their talks lasted, 21 hours, they said, and come to like an official permanent thing. That I don't know how that happens by April
Yeah,
22.
because the talks don't start till the 26th or 5th or 6th, and they seem like they're already have fallen apart,
Yeah. So somebody either knows something that we don't.
right?
I mean, that's always like an interesting thing to think about for prediction markets. And if you look at some of the top yes holders, there's some massive positions right here. So this trader, he's got 351,000 shares of yes. These are massive positions with some all not looking to throw their money
Mhm.
away. So it's and then if you look at the other side, the no holders, again, some huge positions, but
Yeah,
it's an interesting dynamic here on this one.
yeah, I know. I don't know what open source intelligence informs either of those positions, like, with that much conviction. I mean, unless they're have something that is not public. But yeah, that's
Right.
wild.
So just look at some of this guy's other positions. It could be some sort of a hedge or something too.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff you have to keep in mind
Yeah.
too. Iranian, he's got lots on the Iranian regime to not fall. Um, yeah. Anyways, that's something I always like to look at before I enter in a position is like, who are my counterparties here? Like, am I am I going on the opposite side of some of the best traders on
Yeah.
Polymarket, or am I kind of aligned with that? So
Mm.
I just found that market interesting.
Yeah.
Any other Iran markets you want to touch on?
Yeah, so I was looking at the oil end of year
Oh yeah,
prices, the WTI, just because I mean
is that on
it's so
Kalshi?
close. Yeah, that's a Calcio one.
Here, if we, they've Kalshi's got this new commodities tab. They're trying to get more into
Uh-huh.
commodities trading, which kind of interesting. Let's see if we go to
I think that's a legitimacy play more.
yeah,
I think they're trying to tie themselves with the CFTC. Be like, no, that's
yeah.
commodities.
We're
It's
not
not
just
here.
gambling. We
Yeah,
have
right.
commodities trading where you can hedge.
Mhm.
Okay. Is this the one?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, so in January it was. I mean, you're down at $61 a barrel, like the Brent oil, and
Oh,
it's peaked up to.
I'm gonna go to Brent here for you.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Oh, they don't have a end of year one for Brent.
No, yeah, I was
Looks
just
like.
looking at through the
Oh,
WTI one. It's
gotcha.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, we get like Q1's like the most um the biggest quarterly spike since like the 80s, like after you adjust for inflation. And then looking at like the under 70 market and then the above 120 both have like pretty sizable positions. So I mean, you see like everyone's kind of pricing in like this is not going to kind of fade out into business as normal.
Mhm.
It's just been interesting looking at that like in the context of Iran because I mean the I keep thinking of it in terms of like the now like the last week of the blockade.
Mhm.
'Cause, I mean, they're not trying to blockade Iran's economy, essentially, and because their economy has been sanctioned into the ground, and then the conflict has crippled Iran's economy. It is I mean, that blockade is really aimed at China, and because
Mm.
I mean, China gets, like, 90% of its oil comes through there from Iran. So, kinda waiting to see with this market, like, if China starts to, like, publicly or even behind the scenes that we can kind of figure out if they're trying to push back, I'm, like, against the blockade, if they're trying to use some soft power or some other back channels to relieve the blockade. Um, but I mean, if not, like, I think this continues on and it kind of shoots back up. So I'm waiting for those one of those 2 catalysts to kinda happen to see. Because I think, yeah, all the volatility has been really, like, short term in this market, not oil, but in the market has been short term, like, it's back open. Oh, it's closed.
Yeah.
It's and I think that is gonna be the much longer narrative to see which way it goes. Because yeah, like, the positions, like, on both, like, 2 standard deviations away are, like, way bigger than the middle. And I think it's traders pricing in China and what China's ultimately gonna do.
So you think that, like, reaching 115 or something like that could be a good trade? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think even maybe a little bit. I
Higher?
mean, 115, what compared to 120? Yeah, I mean, because yeah, I just think it's gonna get pushed one way or another to the extremes based on the posturing and stance that China ultimately takes on the blockade, which then directly affects that price.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are confusing, and they haven't done a good job of explaining it, is the blockade, they're not technically blocking the Strait of Hormuz, they're just blocking
Mhm.
Iranian ports, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah,
And
because you see a lot. I think a lot of people are confusing that like the U.S. is blocking the strait. I've even seen on some like shows on like CNN and other places. They're like, "Oh, the U.S. is now blocking the Strait of Hormuz," but it's the ports so that Iran can't export yet oil to China, etc. Right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the US, the ships kinda just trail them and communicate, and that's what happened, yesterday is, when an Iranian ship didn't turn back, they hit their engine room, I think. They just
yeah,
disabled the ship, and I think Marines went on board too. But, yeah, they were just kind of following along with it.
yeah,
I feel like to think of the old, like, the, US Revolutionary War, like, the ships lined up outside the harbor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. I think I agree. I don't know how there's just not continued like excessive volatility in oil and some of these other markets.
Mhm.
It's s- yeah, and it's also kind of ridiculous. I mean, it seems like clearly whether it's the Trump administration or um like Iranians are insider trading oil. For sure,
Mhm.
it seemed like
Yeah.
like, uh, you're seeing, positions, hundreds of $1,000,000 of, like, oil shorts opening right before, some, positive announcement is released, right?
Yeah.
Or someone goes long $1,000,000,000 of oil contracts, right before
Mm.
there's, like, escalation headlines. And there's yeah, there's this Twitter account that's, like, an Iranian. I forget what his role is, but he's, like, talking about oil trading and, like, giving advice, and it's ridiculous.
It's it's a weird time. You see the White House had to put out a memo to staff to not trade on prediction markets.
Yeah,
They're literally giving away, like, intelligence, like, national security intelligence based on their, like, prediction market positions.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And what's your take on I'm seeing a lot of stuff about how now there's, like, a ton of tankers are now redirecting and going to Texas, and Trump is, like, bragging about that and stuff.
Mhm.
Is that do you think that was some sort of, like, 4D chess that they're playing, or what's going on there?
No. I
No.
think it is a, uh, I think it is meant to keep oil costs relatively down for long enough to not squander the Republicans and Trump's remaining political capital.
Yeah,
And to, I mean, it's like, oh, they're going to Texas as a nice big, like, wordy win. If you don't
yeah.
then look at the externalities of it, or in the long term, how globally we're connected, especially in oil, and what increased oil prices for China ultimately means for, like, US consumers. I think they're like, yeah, I don't think about that. Just they're going to Texas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm starting to track some, like, moves in oil and some other things compared to, like, the S&P and stuff like this. So I have this new
Mhm.
analytics tab where on flow frame here, where let's see. So Brent crude versus the US Iran permanent peace deal, just like tracking how closely some of these markets track. So
Mhm.
it's this some of this data will start to fill in, but I just find that stuff interesting to track here, like S&P 500 versus the Strait of Hormuz, traffic going back to normal by May. I mean, look at how
Yeah.
closely just in the last, day or two, it's just,
No,
very correlated.
yeah, I mean, people, you ultimately, everybody votes with their wallet one way or another, and that those correlations really start to show it, even with just very short-term data.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is where prediction markets can really start to, like, reach the institutional adoption and stuff of, like,
Mhm,
interesting correlations and hedging and trading opportunities and ideas can start to surface by tracking some of these things. So I
mhm,
just find this interesting. Bunch of other data in here too, on flow frame here. It's for any analytics nerds out there, this is a fun little tab. I'll be adding some more things here, so check that out. So, all right, should we hop over to some domestic politics now, or anything else from Iran?
No, no, I think Iran flows well into
Yeah,
domestic politics.
that's I kind of hope that the conflict extends a while. Yeah, it gives us a lot to talk about and a lot to cover.
It's a lot of content. I mean, yeah,
um,
it's crazy how much it's shaping US domestic, but, like, it's the number 1 driver in,
yeah.
like, for the rest of the year.
Oh, that's what I was gonna try to point out too. I had that on the. I wonder if it's showing. Let's see. I'm gonna hop back to this. So on this, will the Democratic Party control the Senate after the 2026 midterm elections? So I'm gonna have it annotated on these charts, some like big events here. It's not showing up right
Mhm,
now, but like right about like in here somewhere is when the Iran war started, right? So you can see like since then, it's just pretty much been straight up. So I think it's definitely a driver of some of these political markets and midterm markets.
Mhm.
Um, all right, let's go to the California governor winner. This has been a hot topic over the last week as Eric Swalwell dropped out after some pretty horrendous assault allegations. So now we have a whole new kind of set of candidates here. Um, Steyer, I don't know how to pronounce that. Mahan, Steve
Mm.
Hilton. So, are you familiar with some of these? Quick rundown on who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stayer is I mean, he calls himself the billion the progressive billionaire or the people's billionaire, and yeah, the market's clearly pricing in him to consolidate the rest of the Democratic vote, after the primary. Yeah, Katie Porter was a senator, and then you've got Bianco and Hilton are the top 2 Republicans. And those 4, and I forget what the last 2 are, but those are the 4 main ones who'll be in the debate this week as well. That'll
Yeah,
really, I think, will really move this market around. But yeah, I think Steyer is the one to beat, even though I think statewide polling, he's not polling as high as I don't think either of the Republicans, only because that Democratic field is still pretty spread, even with low percentages passed around.
yeah, and this one's interesting because as I was reading about it and doing some trading ideas around this one, so they have a jungle primary, right? So it's like
Mhm.
the top two
Too, no matter what.
vote getters go on to the
The
primary. Is
general.
that their general? Yeah, is that right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's creates a whole like interesting dynamic.
Yeah, up until about a week ago, there were the California Democratic Party was starting to get worried that the field was too big
Yeah,
on the Democrat side, and that just because of the vote dilution, that it was going to be 2 Republicans running for governor in an overwhelmingly like blue state.
yeah.
So I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes there, but I know they were up until about a week ago, right before the Swalwell stuff. It was they were worried.
Yeah, and Tom Steyer, he's come down, or am I Steyer? Is it Steyer? Steyer, whatever.
I've heard of both.
He's come down a lot. He got like endorsed by like he got some endorsement last
Mhm.
week that spiked him, and now has settled back down. And this is Xavier has just exploded. I
Mhm.
don't, I haven't read much about him yet, so I don't know what's
Yeah,
going
I
on
think
there.
those are both results of Swallow dropping out. I think Stayer got I think it was the
Oh
state
yeah,
teachers union. I think that was the
yeah.
endorsement he got. But then that vacuum let Sarah shoot up. I think Swallow was kind of occupying that part of the Democratic ticket.
And I think I was also reading that, like, in California, that people have tried to, like, billionaires and stuff have tried to buy the governor's seat before, and, like,
Mhm.
California historically, like, very much opposes that. Like, like and so that hasn't worked, and so that's what I think Steyer is mostly trying to do, right? He's just got the most money, he's just spending so much on advertising and everything,
Yeah, I
but
think
that historically
he's
hasn't worked.
Yeah, what he's 10 or 15 times spending more than anybody
Yeah,
else. Yeah, 30 times more. Yeah, he spent 115 million of his own money on just TV time.
yeah.
Yeah, 30 times more. I think like Katie Portrait like 5 million or something. Like, yeah,
Alright,
he's just
so
really trying to muscle through it.
yeah. So they have a mention market on there's a debate this week. So this is
Mhm.
exciting because I think there's gonna be a lot of these debate markets coming as more of the midterms get closer and things like that. So this is one of there's also a South Carolina debate here, but there should be a lot of debate markets. So let's pull up. So they have, what will Steyer say? What will Katie Porter say? What will Steve Hilton say? What will
Mm.
Chad Bianco say? So I mean, have you looked at these at all? Do you have any favorites
Yeah.
or
So
anything?
they popped up, I think, early this morning. I was kind of looking at them pre-market, yesterday, but I was starting to sort of see what these spreads were. It's an interesting market because it's I think they're slotted for 60 minutes spread over 6 candidates.
Mm,
So, like, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of wandering. I think you're gonna be able to look a lot towards their very core platform and really stick close to it. So, like, I mean, pre-market, I was looking at, like, Porter. I was looking for no on her, um, only because AI is such Stayer's signature policy, and
okay.
she I mean, I think in just that short amount of time, I think all the candidates will likely let their different platforms differentiate. I don't think they'll be back and forth on crossover issues too much.
Oh, sure, yeah, that I could see
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Like, they
Right?
wanna stick to, like, what kinda makes them stand out compared to the
Yeah, yeah,
others.
like, they won't spend time
Yeah,
uh, on, like, the negative, like, the saying that this is what they're not. They'll just
right.
try to
Like
differentiate with affirmative.
right, like, arguing with other people's platforms and just focusing on theirs more.
Yeah, because
So
this is the last, really opportunity before the ballots go out for the primary. So this is really their last,
oh,
opportunity to talk to Californians en masse like that. So yeah, I mean, I think they're all going to be trying to bounce off of Stayer. I mean, with his big budget, his big ad budget, and just his polling now higher. I mean, I think Porter, uh, and the other the other one Democrat on it, especially, and I think even the Republicans too. But mostly the Democrats will try to really separate and differentiate and not cross over at all.
okay.
And yeah, Stayer is really all about AI, so I think they'll all steer clear of it.
So here's a table on in our mentions hub. We have an article about just a little a quick kind of cheat sheet on each of the candidates and a side by side comparison of some of the words that overlap on their markets. These odds aren't like live. This was just kind of at the time of writing, so they might have moved, but it gives you an idea of kind of each candidate's platform. You
Mm,
have so AI Steyer so, quite a bit higher for Steyer, lower for Porter is an example of what kinda you were saying
mm,
here. Trump, very high for Porter and Hilton, low for Bianco. Um, so, yeah. Anything standing out any other plays you're looking at?
again, this was in pre-market, so I'm not sure what the price is currently, or even when you wrote this earlier. But for
Yeah,
Stayer, take finding a no position on Swalwell, just because I mean, as the Democratic front runner, I don't think he's gonna invite any
yeah.
sort of comparison or any of that. But um, yeah, I'm not sure what the
Let's look
price
at
is
what
on
that
that
one
now.
is.
Yeah, if it becomes a good price, that's one I would scoop up for sure.
I like that. I like that. Let's see. Yeah, still around that 50. Yeah, not much liquidity until 73 cents, but
Mm,
maybe you could start building a
yeah,
position around there. That seems like
yeah. I mean,
a good one.
I think the Republican candidates might hit it slightly. I would think way more them if anybody, but I don't think any of the Democrats touch it.
Is Bianco's the Republican?
I
I
believe so.
think so.
Yes.
So
I don't
Trump.
even know if it's on his. Oh, yeah, it
Oh
is.
yeah,
Mm.
Swalwell. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so it's a
Yeah,
little higher.
yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't touch it at that, only 'cause I don't I still think it's not likely, but if
right.
it was gonna be.
Yes. So this will be a good one to start getting some practice for all the debates coming up. So
Yeah,
this is on Wednesday. So check out Prediction Labs Discord. We will be doing some more diving into these and making some plays in the Discord. So check that out. There's another big one coming up for Trump. He's been light on the mentions lately, but the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This one's already at. This is on Saturday, and it's already at 150,000 in trading volume.
that's
So,
wild.
um, again, I need to dive into this one yet.
Mm.
But this one is definitely one where I will probably be having quite a few trades and positions on eventually. Just off the top of your head, do you know what the White House Correspondents' Dinner is?
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
don't.
do it
I
every
don't.
year. It's the
Okay.
press, and it's usually, like, there's a lot of it's hosted by a comedian, or I don't know who's hosting it this year, but there's a lot of jokes and, like, kind of a I mean, at least Trump's last term was alluding to some, like, missteps and failures. I don't know how that's gonna go this year. I don't know what kind of,
Yeah.
setup is gonna be, but yeah, they do it I mean, it will wander, like, I think there will be a lot of yeses.
A big yes fest.
Yeah, I think
They
so,
they
only
need
'cause
it.
it's so many people.
Yeah. That's yeah. That's yeah. I mean, I'm honestly surprised some of these aren't priced higher. Like
Mm,
already, I know we're a week out, and like a lot of the where kind of depends on what's going on in Iran and stuff. But like
mm. Yeah, like, fake news
it's
is a lock.
yeah, like, so it's almost seems like there's some uncertainty here where, like, this is just gonna be, like, yes all the way down by the end of it probably.
Yeah,
If he's given, like, a somewhat longer, yeah, speech.
mhm.
Uh, yeah.
'Cause it's
Okay.
usually like, it's pretty
Yeah.
unstructured, at least when the president gets up there, so, like, I imagine
Oh,
it half turns into a rally kinda for.
that's right in his wheelhouse. That's
Yep.
right in his wheelhouse. So that'll be a fun one. 8 prime time Saturday night. There we go. We don't need to watch basketball or anything. We're watching Trump. Let's go. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can dive in now into some of our best trades of the week. I can start it off with mine. I did a deep dive on an Tesla earnings market. Here, I wrote an article on Action Network about this. It's at 33% chance right now that they beat quarterly earnings. So all of the numbers are just not looking good for Tesla for this quarter. I'll maybe just share the article and read some of the stats here. But they missed on deliveries. They missed on their energy storage. Yeah, so they 358,000 delivered against 408,000 produced. They've got missed on their gigawatt consensus. So on these Polymarket earnings, so when the market goes live, there's like whatever the consensus, EPS number is at that time. So when this market went live, it was at 39 cents was the hurdle that they had to beat. And then analysts will continue to to look at the like the company and analyze if that's an accurate number, and then they often revise their numbers. And so it's come down now. The analysts have revised down. Tesla like released some of this deliveries data and things on April 2. So they've come down now. And so analyst consensus is now more like in the kind of like the 31 to 35 cent range. So below the 39 cents that they need to cover for the Polymarket to consider it a beat. So they might still beat
Mhm.
some of these analyst consensus, but not Polymarket. So that's something
Yeah.
to keep in mind. So um, I just think 39 cents is too high. Uh, and I think it's probably it should be closer to, I don't know, a 25% chance that they beat is closer to what I think. So it's already come down a little bit since I wrote the article at 35 cents. So this would be my best bet for the week is no on Tesla beating earnings anywhere in the, yeah, 66 to 69 cent range is probably a good bet to me. They just got too many headwinds going against them right now. With the one big beautiful bill also took away a lot of their energy credit earnings, and that was a huge margin business for them. So that's not looking as good. So looking towards they'll miss the 39 cent hurdle at least. So
Do you know if
yeah, go ahead.
do you know if the big beautiful bill did anything to their carbon credits? 'Cause,
Yeah, I think it was what I was reading was it was similar. So what was it? They called it the regulatory credits
mm,
halved. Um the cafe and the fuel yeah. So basically yeah, I think the carbon credits and the
mm.
regulatory credits was a huge business for them, and it's pretty much cut that in half.
Yeah, I know. I mean, at
So
least a few years ago, it was that especially that selling those carbon credits within the auto industry was just a huge part of their business.
huge. I mean, and that was
Yeah.
just pure, like, 100% margin profit
Mhm.
for them, right?
Yeah,
Like, there was no extra, like, expenses or anything, it was just pure profit, so that's huge for them, and so as that stuff starts to come off, it's gonna make it harder. I still like Tesla as an investment, like, over, like, the long term, I think
yeah.
it's great, but just their earnings, because 'cause they've only beat earnings now, let's see, 4 of the last, like, 12 quarters, and I think uh, a lot of those has because of the carbon credits and stuff kinda rolling off.
Mhm. Yeah, I think those shocks, those up and downs, but I think their real value is the infrastructure I think that Tesla has built. I think
Yep.
that makes them a good long term, no matter what the quarterly stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah, hard to bet against Elon over the long term. And that's yeah, another, like, benefit for prediction markets here is if you have a large Tesla position, you can do some hedging and things around their earnings markets and stuff like that. So, we'll come back to this one on the next video, hopefully made some money here, but I like it. All right, what's your bet for the week?
Yeah, so back over on Kalshi, I have a trade, and then I put an article up on Flow Frame last week about the uh, recognition of Taiwan. Yeah, so this one is a very long play with
Yeah.
not too much volume in it yet, but it is really safe. Really, like you can
We
just
like the
park
safe
some
ones.
cash there and make some interest, and then collect at the end. But yeah, I mean, just the recognition of Taiwan would just upset absolutely everything. Like in this new, like two main superpowers in the world, US declining, but is still a superpower, China asserting itself as the other one, and you get Russia's the third, and just the homeostat or the stasis that we've found with the kind of Taiwan's a country, but not really when China comes asking, is really important for so many industries. Like Tesla would be really hurt if all of a sudden we recognize Taiwan because that's where all of our superconductors and chips go, and
Right.
that economy is directly tied to China and they export to us, and there are so many connections going through that, and there's no real scenario where the US recognizes Taiwan and it is super cool with China that we do it. And I think there is becomes just an economic and maybe even a localized like military struggle in the South China Sea there. And it's I mean it's been 47 years since of this equilibrium where we deal with Taipei and Taiwan as if it were a country. We have the American Institute there that all of our foreign relations work goes through, but then when we talk to Xi in China, it is yeah, it's part of China, and that seems to make China happy enough to let everything kind of continue. And besides rolling some warships through the strait there once in a while, it seems to be at a beneficial stasis for everybody involved. And I mean, then in my article, I even factored in the risk of, I mean, I think they're pricing in just Trump's unpredictability about
Oh,
established geopolitical norms sometimes. I think that is most of what's going on because there's it would have to be such a catastrophic event to make this a reality.
yeah. Kinda like how Trump's talking about taking Greenland and making Canada like the 51st state and just probably just pricing in some of that, like
Yeah, they're tailing his rhetoric
yeah.
just to like one of them might happen. But yeah, and like and so even Taipei might reject because in Kalshi's terms, it's like a lot of recognition back and forth. So I mean,
Mm,
Taiwan is so tied to China economically that they may, even if Trump does go that far, they might reject it and not let them set up an embassy or that more official type of recognition, which is a real incentive for Taiwan economically to do that.
so this
So
is like a
it's
total blind spot for me, and so I'm guessing a lot of people are similar. Like Taiwan, the US doesn't recognize Taiwan as like a sovereign like nation, basically.
no,
Is that
yeah, yeah.
right?
It's
Oh,
after the Civil War, right after World War II, the old government went out to Taiwan. They called themselves China. The People's Republic also call themselves China, and because they were had just been an ally during the World War II, and we were becoming more focused on the Soviet Union, it was much more beneficial to kind of let it all lie.
mm,
And then with the development of Taiwan's economy and especially their computer component manufacturing capability, it's everything kind of built up into an economic state where there's no reason except ideological to disrupt it.
oh, I see. Interesting. It's a long-term play, like you said, but there's a maybe a real chance. I think that, people realize, right? And this drops to 6% in the next couple months, and then you could take profit, right? So that's a nice return over a couple months. So you don't have to hold all the way to resolution.
Mhm. Yeah, you need one
Yeah.
shock, one group of trader. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
low volume still, so yeah,
Right.
I feel really comfortable holding.
Right. Yeah, that seems like it's nice comfy one. All right, we'll throw that in the tracker and keep everyone updated on this one. So good stuff. All right, anything that you think we should that you'll be watching specifically in the week ahead? Any of the Iran markets or news or
Mm,
big catalysts? I
yeah,
think
I mean,
obviously all the peace deal stuff.
yeah. Yeah, like any official or even posturing position from China on Iran is definitely something to watch for. It connects to all of those markets. Any if the ceasefire in Lebanon falls apart, that would also
Hmm.
trigger a lot because I mean the yeah Hezbollah in southern Lebanon is just Iran's proxy. They're completely funded and commanded by Iran there. So, and they treat that as a huge part of any peace deal moving forward is Israel to not only the ceasefire but to stop its uh, attack in southern Lebanon. So that'll be interesting to watch out for. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna be watching that permanent peace deal market for April 22 pretty
mhm.
closely. I don't know, there's some interesting stuff going on there. So we might, who knows, maybe everything by our next video, maybe everything will be done. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
Doubtful, but it's fun to watch. I mean, not fun, obviously, we want it to end and, like, all the fighting to stop and everything, but, it's interesting.
The trades, yeah, interesting. Yeah, if you see a whale trade on a yes there. It's
Yeah, there's bound to be a lot more insider trading over the next couple days, so
mhm.
okay, cool. Well, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. A lot of information we covered again. So again, check out predictionlabs.app to sign up for the Prediction Labs Discord, and check out flowframe.xyz. Tons of free info and tools and analytics. We got smart money tools. We got um, um, insider tools. We got articles. We got research. So check all that out for sure. And we will talk to you at the next video.
Talk to you later.